The BOO HAG is a curious and obsessive creature that will not be able to pass by without counting each straw, hair, or hole.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we are continuing our journey through the Urban Legends Wikipedia page and concluding probably the B section, which was very long, basically because the word black is placed before a lot of scary things.
Yes, but we're here. This is a conclusion of sorts.
Yeah.
To get to the end of the B's is a momentous occasion.
Huge.
I love when we do this. I am thrilled to get into this.
Same.
I'm excited to hear about yours, so I think let's just launch right in.
William, that's so funny. I'm excited to hear about yours.
What a coincidence.
Huh. Okay, so let's first talk about the Black Volga. Had you ever heard of this before?
No.
I had not. It's kind of unsurprising because it's an Eastern European thing. It's probably not something that would make its way over to us. So it's a legend that cropped up in the 60s and 70s about a car, a black Volga GAZ-21 or GAZ-24 that abducts people.
Oh, the car itself.
Well, there's a person driving it, but like if you see that car, then like there's probably danger afoot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Almost like how in the US you might look at like a black panel van. That used to be sort of like the thing.
A black panel van? I always think people joke about a white van.
A white van? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess just vans.
Yeah, totally.
But so this is the car. This is the evil car.
Right. Or like when I was in elementary school, how there was the green car that was supposed to be trying to abduct children. And I meant to ask Mom about this. Our mom is in the chat right now. We record live at youtube.com/gttupod. It was before you were in school. It was when I was in elementary school.
Oh, God.
Mom, do you remember the thing about the green car? They said that it was somebody in a green car trying to pick up kids who had a troll doll hanging from their rearview mirror.
Ugh.
And if I remember right, they sent letters to parents to like let them know about it or something. And Mom is saying yes. She remembers.
Mom says yes.
Yeah.
Can we just call Mom real quick? Mom, will you answer if I call you?
Yeah.
Well, let's just find out.
I bet she will.
Let's get Mom on the show real quick.
It'd be funny if she sends you right to voicemail.
That'd be awesome. That would make me laugh a whole lot.
She's not interested.
Rogers.
Hello. Is that how you always answer the phone?
Sometimes I say Kathy Rogers.
Oh, okay.
I'll say Will Rogers right now.
Hello.
Hello.
So do you remember this green car thing?
It was so damn scary.
I bet. So did they send a letter home? Like, how did you know about it?
No, I don't remember a letter. I remember a lot of mothers talking to one another about it.
Okay.
How we'd heard that and to be on the lookout. And then it died within a week and, we got on with our lives.
Oh, okay. So it was a quiet, short rumor.
Okay.
It was a quiet, short rumor, William.
I think it was longer among kids. Like, I remember being in on the school bus, we'd be like, the green car's behind us and stuff like that.
Honey.
Well,
I know.
That's both.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's
I
both.
don't remember hearing about it from you.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, but
interesting.
we had some other things to pay attention to. You got to get dinner on the table.
Uh-huh.
Make sure you've done the laundry.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I know this life.
And I guess when nobody got abducted, then you were just like, okay, I guess we're good.
That was talk about a green light. A green car.
Exactly.
That was a green light to forget it.
That is the definition, really, of what an urban legend is. Sort of like pops up. It's hard to pin down the origin or whether or not it's even true, but everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
It probably changed a bunch in the retelling. You saying that there was a troll doll hanging from the mirror could have easily been just another kid saying, here's what I heard.
Definitely.
There's a troll doll hanging, because troll dolls were big in the 90s. They were part of our consciousness at the time.
They're a part of our culture.
Yeah.
And we lived, quite frankly, in the woodiest of the woods.
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So seriously.
So it was a little scary. Things could be afoot.
Yeah, anything
It'd
might be
easy
happening.
for somebody to, I don't know, hide.
All right. Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Now I feel inadequate because I had completely forgotten that story about the car.
The green
and
car.
I feel like a bad mother. And,
nothing came
yet
of it.
You're still here, so.
We're still here. We got you. We got
I'm
your
still
back.
standing.
I love you.
All right. We love you too.
All right, love you
Thank
too.
you, Mom.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so there you go. The green car thing might have been maybe there was a point of order, but that in
I don't know.
itself
Exactly.
again. I just love that was sort of just a little microcosm, urban legend, probably just in the 90s in our town.
Yeah, totally.
And
I should have reached out to CJ, my childhood best friend, about it.
Let's call her now. We'll just
get him on the horn.
A series of phone calls.
Yeah.
All right, Black Volga.
So yeah, the Black Volga is the green car of Eastern Europe in the 60s and 70s. And so depending on the country, the actual vehicle might slightly change. For instance, Czechoslovakia had a black ambulance, which I think is awesome.
That's cool.
And other countries had other car models. So most of the stories are, like the green car, about child abduction, some adult abductions. Did I say adult abductions?
Something like that, yeah.
Adult abductions. And depending on the story, it might either be driven by the secret police, or it could be demons or Satan himself.
So it could literally be anything.
Yes. So there are some like real world stories that still didn't happen, but like grounded in our reality, and some that are like the devil is driving it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the human bad guys first. So the most widespread story about the Black Volga is that it's driven by criminals to kidnap children and harvest their organs or sell them into child slavery, or weirdly specifically, use their blood to cure rich people of leukemia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a weird one.
It is. Sometimes in these stories, it's members of the clergy, sometimes priests and nuns who are secretly Satanists, of course. More on him later.
Oh, okay.
There was also a story about a serial killer who would drive up alongside people and ask them for the time. If that person answered, the killer would grab them and kill them in some sort of horrific way. But if they just kept on walking and didn't answer, then they were safe.
Like these arcane rules where it's like, who's not gonna assume that you can just be like, I don't know, it's 2:30. Whoa!
It seems pretty harmless.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, exactly. So there was, like most urban legends, like well, maybe not most, some, a kernel of truth that the stories might have sprung from, because apparently in the early 1900s in Russia, there's a branch of the police called the NKVD who actually drove these cars, the Black Volgas, which came from the Gorky automobile plant.
Oh.
I just included that because it was a fun name.
Gorky.
The NKVD seems scary as hell. They could just kill people with impunity. Yeah. They put people into labor camps, gulags. So people were used to this real life scary entity driving around in cars like that.
Gotcha.
And so the legends may have sprung from there later on through the 1900s, that they're like dangerous people who are driving these cars and might disappear you, which was true at a certain point. There's also a theory that these rumors were intentionally spread by the government so that people go, oh, that's so ridiculous, like the Black Volga thing, it's sort of a joke, and then write off actual kidnappings that are happening in these cars.
That's pretty insidious.
It is. I mean, you know, I don't know a ton about the history of Russia and everything, but it seems like they have had some insidious dealings.
Oh, for sure.
While generally I would go like, that sounds kind of far-fetched.
Oh, I'm not saying it's far-fetched. It just sounds like the kind of like psychological warfare of like, we are taking people off the streets, so let's proliferate an insane rumor. So that
like,
people...
there's a serial killer who's going to ask for the time, so then nobody's really afraid of the Black Volga.
Right.
Because they might just look at it. That's just the thing kids
are afraid of. Meanwhile, it really is. That's what they say in The Faculty. Yeah. Elijah Wood says, like, maybe they release all these movies about aliens to cover up that aliens actually are real.
Yeah,
it makes
just
it seem ridiculous.
Desensitize you to the idea.
Yeah.
Totally. The most likely explanation is that it's just inspired by the NKVD driving these cars, and the rest of it is just imagination and made up.
Yeah.
But, you know, who knows? And then the ghost bad guys, the stories of demons and Satan driving the car. It's really short. It seems like people leaned more on the real life idea, which again, I think supports the theory that it kind of sprung from those real secret police driving these cars. But anyway, it's also said that the devil or demons will drive this thing and do something very similar to that serial killer. They ask for the time, and then if you answer, you will die at that time the next day.
Oh, that's fun.
Not knowing that it's the devil, and this whole thing has now been put into effect.
Yeah.
But there's a way out. If they ask and you answer, it's God's time, then you're safe.
It's God's time.
Yep.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
It's Millet time. Like, that's totally meaningless. Absolutely. It's fun. I love, I love rules of all these things.
Of course, it's fun.
How you curse yourself, how you set yourself free. But that also reminds me of some of those Japanese horror stories, right? Where it's like you run across this lady and her mouth is cut open and she'll say, do I look pretty?
Yeah.
And if you say yes, she'll cut your mouth to look like hers.
Right.
And if you say no, she'll rip your head off.
Yeah.
So what you're supposed to do is somehow say nothing. You have to do the unlikely thing that no one would ever do.
Ignore.
It's God's time.
Yeah, it's God's time.
All right,
so goofy.
You've defeated my evil magic.
Yeah.
You're off limits to me now.
Yeah, so that's the Black Volga.
Wonderful.
Kind of a classic sort of structure.
It is. And there are, a lot of like ghost car things I know exist. But I don't think I've ever really known any of the stories behind them.
Neither have I.
All right, so I'm going to tell you now then about one of my stories that I got, which turned out to be kind of a banger.
Yes.
Do you know this?
Yes.
You know this story. It turns out that it's a big deal story. Like a lot of people may have heard this before. I had never heard it before.
Yeah.
I don't know if I just have my head buried in the sand. I'm not sure. But I'm going to talk to you about Mercy Brown. Also,
not Murphy Brown.
Not Murphy Brown.
Easily confused.
Keep wondering where all of her secretaries went.
That's the mystery.
If you know Murphy Brown, that was an okay joke.
It was pretty good.
Every episode, you had a different secretary.
Also, I don't even know if they have this at like the grocery store anymore. They very well may, but like they used to have for boxes of hair dye, these little samples of hair be just like a little doodle of hair colored like the box. Do you remember what I'm about to say?
Sort of.
So like I would always, before I went to cosmetology school and stuff when I was younger, I was always buying just like hair dye at the grocery store and Will would come with me or whatever. And he would put his finger inside the loop of hair and go, "Hi, I'm Murphy Brown."
Whoa.
To the blondes.
Whoa. I forgot about that. Yeah, because it would make your finger look like stickly. Like it made your finger look like a little puppet with hair on.
"Hi, I'm Murphy.
Just a little
Murphy Brown."
A little sample of hair. And it made it look like some heavy 90s do. 80s, 90s
It was a little loop that you could stick your finger in.
"Hi, I'm Murphy Brown." You're right. I forgot. I used to do literally do it every single time.
Yep.
Because it was not funny.
It was classic. Yeah,
but
it was great.
Made it funnier the more you did it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this ain't Murphy.
You've really made a mark on me, Will.
This is Mercy.
Yes.
Mercy Brown.
Yes.
This story...
Hi, I'm Mercy Brown.
Also known as the Mercy Brown Vampire Incident. This takes place in Exeter, Rhode Island, which, according to Smithsonian Mag, was referred to as Deserted Exeter. This is basically a ghost town at the time of this story. We're going to talk about George and Mary Brown, who in 1884 would see their family decimated by tuberculosis. At the time, tuberculosis was commonly referred to as consumption. Now, I know almost nothing about tuberculosis. We've talked about it a few times on the show.
I think it's like a bronchial situation.
I believe it is a bronchial situation.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things where it's just like, and this has happened periodically. It was a period of time where there was no known cure for this illness, and it would just kill everybody. It's like when you find out about like yellow fever in New Orleans.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Just eradicates people. And it must have been an incredibly harsh period of time to live in. But I did look up a little bit about tuberculosis. It was referred to as consumption, which itself is almost like a modern day joke.
I know.
I feel like
because it seems like it's just like something that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Which it is, I guess.
It's like saying that somebody has the vapors.
Yes.
You have consumption?
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. They called it consumption because among other symptoms, there was dramatic weight loss.
Oof, so it just consumed you.
It consumed you.
Yeah.
The weight was consumed off your body. And then it became also part of this classic sort of like trope to show people in the late 1800s like cough into a kerchief.
Yeah, right.
And then
like
look and there's
stuff.
blood in the kerchief. Like, oh no, you've got consumption. You've got tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Evidently, it had something like a 50% morbidity rate. You get it and flip a coin. You're going to live or die. In the late 1800s, I wrote, tuberculosis was a goddamn destroyer. That's what I wrote in my notes. So before the Industrial Revolution, folklore, this is from the Wikipedia for tuberculosis, folklore often associated tuberculosis with vampires. Again, like consumption, eating you, sucking the life out of you. When one member of a family died from the disease, the other infected members would lose their health slowly. Now we know, with modern knowledge, they also had tuberculosis.
Right.
They caught it from that dead person.
Right.
But I guess at the time, people believed that because the original person who got it was now draining life from the other family members.
Wow.
Even if they were in the grave. They were
wild.
leeching the life out of everybody who was still alive. So this is Smithsonian Magazine's description. Quote, "The emaciated figure strikes one with terror," reads one 18th century description. "The forehead covered with drops of sweat.
Probably is.
The cheeks painted with a livid crimson.
Will's pointing at me.
The eyes sunk. The breath offensive, quick and laborious, and the cough so incessant as to scarce allow the wretched sufferer time to tell his complaints." But like you get this image of somebody who really is just like racked with illness and gaunt and haunted looking.
That's horrible.
Folklorist Michael Bell says symptoms progressed in such a way that it seemed like somebody was draining the life and blood out of somebody.
Ugh.
Mary Brown, the mother of this family, to get back to it, she dies of consumption first. She's the first one of the family to die. Followed a couple of years later by the eldest daughter, Olive, and then Mercy Brown. Mercy Brown dies third.
Yeah.
But the final child of the still living George Brown, a child named Edwin, who I think was a full-grown adult, but he's the sole remaining George's last child.
Yeah.
He's also got tuberculosis.
Eesh.
All right. Locals recommend something that I guess at the time maybe was still not a comfortable proposition, but they didn't have medicine to turn to. They suggested to George Brown, why don't we dig up your wife and your two daughters? Because probably one of them is a vampire.
Right.
And if we destroy that vampire, maybe it'll save your son. You can save your last child.
Yeah.
So, at the time, I guess it was reasonable enough. So on March 17th, 1892, several members of the family are exhumed from their graves in the hopes of destroying them to save Edwin from Smithsonian. By 1892, the year Mercy died, Exeter's population, the town Exeter, Rhode Island, had dipped to just 961 people from a high of more than 2,500 earlier in the century.
Boy.
Farms were abandoned, many of them later to be seized and burned by the government. Some sections looked like a ghost town. So this is like the entire landscape. The reason why I copied that down is like it's not just about the illness and the people. It's like the climate of the time. Like the Civil War had destroyed everything.
Right. People
were dead. Populations were down. The farms were inoperational. And then they were seized and burned for whatever reason.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. My only guess would be like, is it in a feeble effort to kill the disease?
I know. I guess I would guess that too.
So George does not attend the digging up of his wife and daughters. After nearly a decade in the ground, Mary and the older daughter, Olive, were barely more than bones. They'd been dead for nearly a decade. Mercy, though, had been dead only a few months, and she died during the winter.
Yeah.
So, quote, "The body was in a fairly well-preserved state. The heart and liver were removed, and in cutting open the heart, clotted and decomposed blood was found. During this impromptu autopsy, the doctor again emphasized that Mercy's lungs, quote, showed diffuse tuberculosis germs." I don't think they had that word at the time. This is like retroactive.
Yeah.
But so the villagers burned the heart and liver on a nearby rock, believing, you understand, that because she had not decomposed as much as her mother and sister who were dead for 10 years, they thought, oh, Mary and Olive were not the vampire.
Confirmed vampire.
Mercy is a vampire who's leeching the life out of your son.
Right.
So we've got to take her heart and liver, burn them on a rock, and feed Edwin the ashes.
Right.
Edwin died less than 2 months later.
Yeah. Right. That's not what does it.
Shockaroo, it didn't work. Mm-hmm. So, in the end, and this is like the most bitter possible ending, George didn't die of tuberculosis. In fact, he lived on all the way to the year 1922, just long enough to see bacteriologists Albert Calmette and Camille Guerin discover the vaccine, which was widely used to treat and cure tuberculosis.
Yeah.
He lived long enough for there to be a cure for the thing that eradicated his family.
His whole family.
And like this, like trying in vain, let's dig
Like
the bodies
anything,
up.
yeah.
And my God, she's not a pile of bones, so she must be a vampire, so let's burn her organs.
Right.
Didn't work. Like in a story, you might almost look to this like he continued to live and then live long enough to find out that this is a disease. What is a disease? How do you cure it? Oh, you can cure it.
Yeah.
All of that might almost play like some sort of like poetic comeuppance. But he's like the George Brown story.
I don't know if he needs a comeuppance.
He doesn't need a comeuppance.
Yeah.
But like I saw articles that were referring to like her body as being desecrated, Mercy Brown's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was.
Certainly.
But it was like the best that it was like a Hail Mary.
Exactly. You do the best you can with what you have at the time.
Yeah.
And if that's what it's not like it was just this one crackpot guy who was like,
Right.
oh, maybe this will help my son. Like this is what they believed at the time.
Or this is what they felt. This is what they needed to believe.
True.
There's hope somehow, even
Yeah.
if you do this outlandish thing.
Right. I didn't know. I was surprised. I thought that this was more localized to being about Mercy because her body was so well preserved because it was being winter. I didn't realize that they thought like the way that tuberculosis worked was that if one person has it, they are leeching the life force.
Evidently,
I did not know that.
That's what I got.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's true.
So here's some of the fallout in a way, like the pop culture fallout. It's evidently theorized that at the time, the story of Mercy Brown was widely publicized. Like we dug up this dead lady and she hadn't decomposed.
Yeah,
she was
it was
a vampire.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have used the word vampire, but they would have been like, she's the source of the illness for this family, even though it didn't work.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
It may have inspired Bram Stoker.
Oh, okay.
During the writing of Dracula, which
Okay.
was published in 1897, 5 years later. Not impossible.
No, not at all.
There are claims that Mercy Brown herself may have inspired a character in the story named Lucy, Lucy Westenra. So Lucy in Dracula was once demure, waiting for the right man to come along to marry her. But then she got turned into a vampire. Quote, Lucy Westenra, but yet how changed. The sweetness was turned to adamantine, heartless cruelty, and the purity to voluptuous wantonness.
Ooh.
My God.
I can't imagine.
God. Van Helsing and Lucy's suitors would later open Lucy's coffin and drive a wooden stake through her heart, destroying the vampire and allowing Lucy's soul to rest in peace. To ensure the creature's destruction, they also decapitate her, fill her mouth with garlic, and solder the coffin lid shut.
That sounds right.
So
It's a woman who
more desecration.
stopped waiting around for a man and had her own agency.
Had voluptuous wantonness.
Right, and she was made of adamantium like Wolverine, so you gotta cut her head off, stuff her with garlic.
That's what I got from it too. Made of adamantium, I wrote. Well, she also, I guess, became a goddamn vampire.
True. Certainly part of it, but, feels in keeping.
I agree. Now, evidently also the Mercy Brown story was the subject of episode 1 of Lore.
I think that's where I know it from.
But what you probably know it best from is the band Clutch, who have a song called Mercy Brown off of their album Sunrise on Slaughter Beach.
Of course. Yeah. That's what inspired Lore.
That's, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That album only came out last year, but yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I know Clutch.
Clutch seems like that'd be like a 90s band.
It doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm surprised
And
to hear
Sunrise on Slaughter Beach feels like an 80s album.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. I wouldn't
Clutch,
have guessed that.
Clutch is totally Clutch. They like totally slap. So
Yeah.
crushes. So that's the story of Mercy Brown.
Delicious.
Desecrated and then had her liver fed to her brother and it didn't work. He died.
Boy. I think that it was on the
Major whoops.
It's a huge whoops. I think it was on the podcast version of Lore, and I think the TV show version.
I believe it was episode 1 of both.
Oh, okay, yeah. Wow, it's quite a story.
Quite a hell of a tale.
I also think that it's obviously a crazy story. It's on its own, but I also think her name is
Mercy
like
Brown.
a catchy name for
Mercy.
a story. Yeah, it just happens to be that's what it is, but. It's an easy thing to become kind of like a legend in a story that gets passed around.
Yes, because there was an irony in her being named
Right.
Mercy, but she was believed to perhaps be leeching the life out of her family. And she is named Mercy, but her body is dug up and cut open, and her organs are burned and fed to her brother.
Right. There's a gruesome irony present.
All of it. Yeah, it's like in the movie Cabin in the Woods, there's the Buckner family.
Yep.
And their youngest child is named Patience.
Ah, yes.
Patience Buckner.
Yeah.
In the entire movie,
that
she's
name.
almost like a sad figure, but she's like the tortoise and the hare. She takes her time, but eventually catches up to everybody in the end.
Of course.
Cabin in the Woods. Look up everything right about Cabin in the Woods. I think it's on
Yeah.
the Guide to the Unknown YouTube channel, actually.
Yeah, I think it is.
Bobby and I made it, and it's very, very, very fun. It was supposed to be a response to all of those, like, everything wrong with.
Yeah.
It's like, let's be positive. Everything
Yeah.
right with Cabin in the Woods.
Which is like the whole movie, basically.
Which is great. Whole
Yeah.
movie's great.
Totally.
So anyway, that's Mercy Brown.
Excellent. Well, Will, before we move on to talk about the Blue Star legend,
Yeah.
let's talk about the legends that are you and I and our Patreon page.
We are legends.
We really are. Yeah. So we have, I paused. I was like, is it you and I or me and you? What? I'm not sure. Anyway, so if you go to patreon.com/GTTUpod, you can help support the show, which we appreciate like unbelievably. Thank you so much to everybody who already does that over there. And in return, you get access to our second podcast, The Netherworld Dispatch. We've been doing it for over a year. Is it coming up on 2 years, I think?
We've got 119 episodes as of this recording.
Okay, there you go.
So that's 2 years at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that comes out every Monday, and people who are part of our Demon tier get every single Monday's episode. And we have a number of different tiers that get fewer episodes. So you can figure out whatever works best for you. We also have a Discord that everyone gets access to who joins our Patreon, and it's awesome. People are hanging out in there every single day, sharing parts of their lives, sharing their favorite things to watch, read, do, whatever. It's completely awesome.
I love it. The most recent episode of the Netherworld Dispatch is 119, as I said, titled, Dear David, There's a Nun in My Pet Cemetery.
That was a great title, by the way. I didn't tell you that.
It's very Shriek, if you know what I did last Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I loved it.
Is that good?
I think it is.
So we looked at, we've been doing this periodically because it's the summer. There's a lot of horror news coming out. So we watched the trailer for the Dear David movie, which is coming. So we watched that trailer. We looked at the trailer for The Nun 2.
Yep.
And then because Kristen wanted to, which I'm shocked by, we watched a lot of clips of Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what the deal is.
It is tough stuff.
It's an upsetting movie.
And scary.
Yeah.
Some scary ass clips.
Yeah.
I also, in the editing of it, I had to censor a zombie's bare ass.
Oh, that's right.
So that was interesting.
What was that? Is that the Night of the Living Dead remake?
That's right. The 1990 Night of the Living Dead remake. I showed a clip because it's great, but I forgot that you see a zombie's whole ass. So I had to.
So crazy.
And I'm not the best.
Juicy ass.
I'm not the best video editor, so I had to like track.
I think you are.
I had to track a peach emoji over this zombie's ass. And you should have seen me. I was like peeping over my spectacles, frame by frame, trying to get this zombie's ass out of my face.
That's like when you had to censor your own ass out of our New Jersey ghost hunting video because Will scaled a teeny wall to get to a grave in a movie theater parking lot, and his Paduke started peeking out over his trousers.
She is right. My Paduke did start peeking out, and I did have to edit it out myself. I took that one on the chin for everybody, so nobody will ever have to see it. But so go check that all out. Patreon.com/GTTUpod. Hope you you enjoy. We've also got, as of right this second, 913 reviews.
Beautiful.
On Apple Podcasts. We're really getting there.
Beautiful.
At this point, we're like weeks
1,000.
away. Weeks away from 1,000.
That's so awesome. Thank you very, very much.
And it really is due to all of you. Listen to how this review starts.
Okay.
So this is Dr. Max 6, Kathleen, who says, love this podcast. Okay. I'm old. Not ancient, just old and not tech savvy at all. If you knew how long it took me to figure out how and where to write this review, it would tell you how in love I am with the hosts and the way that they present this content.
Thank you so much for figuring it out then. Thank you.
Not everybody's on Apple
Podcasts.
Of
course not.
A lot of people listen on Spotify or listen on any number of other podcast apps.
Even if you are on it, you just might not know how to do a review.
Totally true.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. I've been listening to Kristen and Will for about 2 years now, and it's clear that these siblings really enjoy each other's company. I'm in the middle of 11 children, and we all banter in much the same way. I laugh the hardest when I'm talking to my brothers and sisters. Listening to these two snort and laugh their way through the episodes makes me laugh until my face hurts. Chris and Will are thoughtful and respectful of each other, and I love it when they share inside jokes where they laugh with, not at, each other. I think that these guys would be fun folks to hang with. I want to try to catch them live one of these days. YouTube.com/GTTUpod.
This made me tear up.
Keep up the good work, Chris and Will. The world needs more people like you. I love what you do. Kathleen.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. That is so nice. The review itself is nice.
Yeah.
Making the effort is nice. Kathleen, thank you very much. I'm not kidding.
You.
I teared up a little bit. That's very sweet.
Kristen
I'm glad you enjoy it.
Weak.
Well, or I'm in touch with my feelings, which makes me weak.
Potato.
It's true.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you, all of you.
Yes, truly. All right. So let's talk about the Blue Star tattoo legend.
Yeah.
Okay. I keep asking, but did you know about this?
This rings a vague bell.
Same. Yeah, it's a distant bell in a town that we don't live in, but yeah. So it's quite simple. The rumor is that a lick and stick tattoo, which I never heard of before, by the way. I never heard it called that.
Lick and stick, like a temporary tattoo, which only requires moisture. So I guess you could lick and stick?
I think that maybe I think that the temporary tattoos that we're used to that maybe came about in the 80s and 90s, you apply moisture from the outside.
Right.
I guess before that, the moisture, you could just lick your hand and then you stick this thing on it, wait a little bit and peel it away, and there's a mark there. It wouldn't be like kind of like the plasticky feeling, like multicolor thing that later temporary tattoos like we had were like. I think that they were almost like a stamp.
Okay.
Sort of.
Sure.
So yeah, lick and stick tattoos. The rumor was that they were given out for free to children soaked in LSD with the goal of getting kids hooked. So either by, it was just like contact with your skin is gonna make it happen.
That's like what they say about like fentanyl today.
Yeah.
You know? Right.
Wait, what do they say?
That like it's in everything, or it might be in your kid's Halloween candy.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is a very old notion. The like
people are trying to
give away their expensive drugs to your kids.
I know. So first of all, like, unneeded spoiler alert, this is completely not true. Yeah. And one of the reasons for that is like, to what end are drug dealers doing this?
Right.
Like, it's a waste of their drugs.
Yeah.
What are the chances that the kids are going to go find that drug dealer to get more of the LSD that they're hooked on?
How are they going to know?
They're not going to know. Also, LSD isn't addictive.
Right.
So, like, the whole thing just falls apart under scrutiny. But anyway, it seems to have started in the 70s and really become a mid to late 80s thing. Got a real big boom. And so it's called the Blue Star legend because the most common one was a blue star that kind of looked like or was the Dallas Cowboys logo. So that comes up a lot when you're looking at this.
Okay.
Or some sort of children's character. So I looked at some, and I have one, flyers that were put around being like, warning to parents, this is happening. And one of them had a picture that was basically like a bootleg Mickey and Fantasia image.
Okay.
And it was actually awesome. I was like, I would get this tattoo. It's like a shitty looking Mickey in like a wizard hat with like stars.
Hell yeah.
I was like, I'm into this. So here is one of the real flyers that was around. Warning to parents. A form of tattoo known as Blue Star is being sold to our school children. Resembling the star of the Dallas Cowboys, it is made of paper and is approximately the size of a pencil eraser, which is way smaller than I expected, by the way.
Very small.
That's
smaller
teeny.
than a pencil eraser.
Yeah. And is soaked with LSD. The drug is absorbed through the skin simply by handling the paper tattoo. So again, it just doesn't make sense. It's being wasted by anybody who's touching this thing.
Yeah.
The drug dealer is getting it on their fingies,
Yeah.
and then they're getting the LSD. There are also bright colored paper tattoos resembling postage stamps that have the picture of the following: Superman, Mickey Mouse, clowns, Disney characters, Bart Simpson, butterflies.
Bart Simpson.
I know. I thought that was funny too. These two are laced with drugs. If your child gets any of the above, do not handle them. These are known to react quickly, and some are laced with strychnine, which is a poison.
Wow. What?
Why?
Strychnine.
I know. Symptoms: hallucination, severe vomiting, a really good time,
Yeah.
uncontrollable laughing, mood changes, changes in body temperature. Uncontrollable laughing. Oh no.
Oh no, you're having too much fun.
Yeah.
I just had a flashback. Maybe I have a blue star tattoo and it was an LSD flashback.
Right.
I'm not sure, but there was a night. So stupid. Dad tried to bluff me on something to catch me out, and he was wrong. There was a night in probably high school, right? I had a bunch of my friends over, and we wanted to sneak out.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm old enough that I don't really feel like sneaking out. And Dad was up at his computer. He was always awake.
It'd be hard to sneak out in that house. Yeah.
Yeah, in the way. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go upstairs. And I went into Dad's office. I went, hey, Dad. And I felt silly because I put it all out there. I went, my friends and I want to go out. We want to just walk around. Maybe go to the playground, down the road, whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, what? What are you talking about? And that made me laugh too. So I was like, we just want to go out. And I'm laughing.
Stretch our legs.
And I'm smiling because we're just kids. We're just restless. We just literally want to walk around and laugh at stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes, are you smoking pot? And that made me laugh. And I went, no. And he goes, because I smell smoke. And we weren't. He was bullshit. He was lying.
Totally.
He was lying to me because there was no smoke to smell.
He was trying to catch you.
He was trying to catch me.
Yeah.
And I just kept...
In case you caved.
I just kept laughing at him. I don't know what he said after that. It was over at that point. I think I probably just went back down to the basement. I was like, we're not going out, you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just such a great moment because
so
his
funny.
instinct was right.
Right.
But
sure.
I knew he was wrong because we were not smoking pot. Because I smell smoke. He blew it. He totally blew it.
Well, it could have been me in my room next to the office smoking out the window.
Oh.
Not impossible.
Alone.
Yeah. Alone stamp on me.
The Conan stamp.
Okay. So the
Sorry.
No, I love that. The flyer continues. Please feel free. And by the way, every single copy of flyers like this I could find it's almost unreadable.
Oh my
God. By the way, that's
This
the reason
word soup.
because it's just really old.
Yeah.
That's the reason I didn't take the Mickey Mouse when I was talking about, because I kind of wanted to show you, but I literally couldn't read what it said.
Yeah.
Please feel free to reproduce this article and distribute it throughout your community. We must get the word out about this danger to our children. Make copies for your friends, neighbors, church, school, etc. And then in all caps, underlined, and italicized, using every option on Microsoft Word. Please help. Tattoos have already taken the lives of many young children.
This horse shit.
It's total horseshit. But so one of the flyers that circulated in the Northeast in particular, in a very familiar place to us, had this prank element to it because it was signed by a J. O'Donnell of the Outpatient Chemical Dependency Treatment Center at Danbury Hospital in Connecticut.
No way.
So the hospital was inundated with calls looking for that fictitious doctor for years. So that flyer was put up in 1992. When the article I read about this was written was 2000. And they said every single year since that, we have gotten calls. So at the very least 8 years, for all we know, beyond that.
Danbury was like the town.
Yeah, like our mom said on the phone, we lived in a very wooded area or whatever.
Middle of nowhere.
And then there was like a little town called Bethel that had the grocery store and stuff. But if you want to go to the mall, you got to go to Danbury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's so weird.
That Danbury also has a famous prison where Martha Stewart went and Teresa Giudice.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Housewife.
And it's the prison that was based on, Orange is the New Black is based on.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What?
The person who wrote the book, Orange is the New Black, which is a real life book, went to Danbury prison.
I keep saying it. We got to go to Reading. We gotta just take a drive up.
Yeah, totally.
But so weird. I know. I'm sorry, but it's so weird.
No, it's totally weird. So here was the thing that was like, I don't know, a little questionable. I saw a couple of sources where police said it was true and to be on the lookout at the time. But it seems like most people think that was just sort of a better safe than sorry thing.
Okay.
Which I can kind of picture. I can kind of see maybe like cops or some people seeing these signs and they don't want to say, no, it's not true at all. Don't worry about go licking and sticking nonstop. And just being like, well, I guess we may as well say, like, just watch out for it. But there are no known verifiable cases of this happening.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's just kind of a prank.
Yeah, and I feel like things like that have happened all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like a similar, like, white panel van type notion of like somebody's going to come and try to give you drugs.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Like that notion's been passed around off and on forever.
Yeah.
Even that poster that you just read, that's like the 70s, 80s equivalent of people who post on their Facebook wall now. Like, I bet no one will share this.
And before that,
drugs are bad. And,
before that, forward emails, like chain emails.
Exactly.
There's always going to be a thing.
It will never stop. We'll be floating around in cyberspace. You know what I mean? And someone will be like, totally. I heard. People are giving digital drugs.
Around in actual space with P2.
You're right.
Based on the way things are going.
Beep, 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 beep. Hey, P2.
P2.
Look out for drugs, P2.
Baby.
Yeah. Baby. Well, I'm now going to tell you about another, this is kind of a shorty too, but a shorty and a sweetie, I think. This is the story of the Buckley family.
Oh my God.
I've just put the Buckley family photo right behind us on the set. Kristen, why don't you go ahead and describe this for our listeners?
Sure. So, I mean, it looks old-timey. I don't know. Is this just an aged photo? But
I'll tell you what, it is old-timey.
Okay. So, it's a photo of three people. Somebody's sitting down in the center and then like a boy on one side and a girl on the other side. And the boy is holding the decapitated head of the person who is sitting upright in the center, sans head.
Yes. And like in the person, the decapitated body very cartoonishly has like the vertebra in the, it's like the Headless Horseman.
Yeah, exactly.
Her head is just cleanly chopped off.
Like the bone in the center and then just like red stuff in a circle around it.
So the sepia tone photo, old family photo, the girl's holding a hatchet. Here's the story, supposedly. This is the Buckley family. The children's names were Susan and John. As a Halloween joke, all the kids in the neighborhood were going to get a dummy and pretend to chop its head off. The Buckley children thought it would be hilarious to actually murder their mother. So when the kids walked up to the door, they got an axe and slaughtered her. Once everyone figured out what they'd really done, they called the police. But the kids were long gone by then. The only picture of them was this photo, taken by a trick-or-treater.
Wow.
The mother's body was later found half-eaten.
Half-eaten? Wow.
It's right there, and they ran away right after this was taken, supposedly, so I'm not sure how that makes sense at all.
Yeah, that seems like an unnecessary detail.
Now, that story I read to you came from Snopes. Where they
I
say...
have a feeling they debunked.
It was debunked, indeed. It was debunked. They actually sourced this image back to a man named Edward Allen in the year 2006. So I found Edward Allen's website where it turns out that he makes those lenticular changing photos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like you look at it one way. They sell these a lot at like Michael's around Halloween.
Yep.
Where like you look at it one way and it's just a person. And you look at it the other way and now he's got fangs. Or something like that. He was evidently inspired by literally the Haunted Mansion. Where when you go to the Haunted Mansion in Disney, lightning will flash and a portrait on the wall will be revealed to have a skeleton in it. So he wanted to figure out how to do that for himself. And he started making them and selling them. You can literally today go to changingportraits.com. It is the definition of like a retro old website.
Nice.
But seemingly still in use today. Like still updated.
If it works.
I would not call it regularly updated.
Sure.
But like he's done stuff as recently as 2021 on that website, and it looks like a 90s website.
Awesome.
But so they cost a few $100 to do. And this particular piece he referred to as, he gave it the title, something matricide. Whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah, something matricide. So he said, Pablo Picasso had his blue period and his rose period. I suppose you could call this my axe period, since this is my third hatchet/axe themed changing portrait in the last few months.
That's awesome.
Perhaps I'm becoming the proverbial hack.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. So anyway, you can go. It's unclear to me whether or not you could literally order one today. It seems like maybe you
Sounds
could.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does seem active on his Facebook, but this was on the urban legend list. It is not an urban legend. It is a product you can buy.
Yeah, as we've encountered before, sometimes the urban legend list is like, that's not an urban legend.
I know. There's
there's
also the literary definition of urban legend, which I like, and like none of these adhere to that.
Yeah.
But this in particular is like, and this guy actually on his Facebook page, correctly so, this Edward Allen, he'll be like, well, another person has just taken my art and posted it all over the place, like stolen my work. It's almost like Trevor Henderson, right? Yep. We're fans of Trevor Henderson, who's a terrific artist and did the little monster that's on the Guide to the Unknown logo.
Yep.
And like his work will constantly be like taken because it's creative and visually striking and interesting. Edward Allen.
Mark Rogers too. His stuff is always being turned into memes and stuff.
Absolutely. And so Edward Allen is no different.
And Brett Manning. Yeah.
People took this image and then just said like, this is the Buckley family, and they cut their mom's head off for real for a prank, and a trick-or-treater took this photo.
Right.
Which is so stupid.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Why would it like, whatever.
The dopiest possible story that you can tell about it.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's so goofy. Okay, so I am going to tell you about BOO HAGs. Again, you got anything? You know what a BOO HAG is?
I've heard the term. That's
Same.
More or less all I got.
Same. I'd heard those words together before. So this is a legend of Gullah culture, which I did not know about. So I looked it up, and the Gullah are Ross Gullah. The Gullah are an African-American ethnic group who mostly live on the coastal plain of South and North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And their culture is distinctive in that it retains a lot of like African culture and language.
Okay.
And so they speak like Creole English.
Okay.
And so what I read was that this area, like the coastal plain, is somewhat set apart from a lot of other areas. So it's kind of easier to preserve their culture because it's somewhat isolated, but kind of like happily so, so this comes from that. So according to the legend, BOO HAGs are kind of similar to vampires, but they feed on breath instead of blood, which they get by doing something called riding their victims.
Whoa.
So this can either mean sucking their breath Dementor style, just like out of their mouth, or stealing their victim's skin and in turn their body and breath.
What?
Putting it on like clothes until it wears out.
Ooh.
And then when it's time to get a new skin, they take off the old one and hide it to go find another one.
Who are they hiding it from?
I don't know.
I gotta hide this.
It's also, if it's so worn out, then might not be, easily recognizable.
Sucking the breath thing. That's Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
Are those BOO HAGs?
I don't know.
The True Knot?
Yeah, I don't know. Good question. I'm not sure.
Sequel to The Shining. Something to think about.
Something to keep in mind. Now, also, there are a lot of variations of what BOO HAGs do. So that's one thing. They all kind of have commonalities, but there'll be just like little changes. Without this human suit, it said that they are skinless and red with glowing eyes. Yikes. And when a hag determines that a victim is suitable for riding, so I guess there's like a stalkery sort of edge to this, the hag generally gains access to the home through a small crack in the house. They're able to somehow just worm their sort of way through. So they're not just like fully corporeal and stay that way, but slip on skin. They also have this kind of like amorphous sort of texture to them. Then the hag positions itself over the sleeping victim, sucking in their breath, which renders the victim helpless and induces a deep dream-filled state. So in this sort of scenario, the hag tends to leave the victim alive so as to use them again for their energy. So in this, they're able to somehow take the person's skin while they're sleeping, go do their thing at night, and then return it in the morning.
That's insane.
So when the victim awakes, they may feel short of breath, sick, and very dizzy, or they might just feel kind of tired.
So this is somebody who like got caught sneaking out. And they were like, no, I was home without my skin. That was a boo hag that looked like me.
It had nothing to do with me. I don't know. That's why I'm so tired today, probably.
Right.
Is what I'm thinking. However, if the victim struggles, if they kind of like wake up and they're like, what the hell is going on? The hag may take their skin, fly off, and just leave the victim to suffer skinless.
Oh.
I also saw a version that said that these two things kind of go together, that it's guaranteed that I basically already said this, I realized. It sucks your breath, takes your skin for the night, and it returns it.
Yeah.
Another version says that the boo hag does have their own skin, but they shed it for the purpose of going out in the night, coming in through a crack in your house and trying on another skin suit, but then returning it by morning to put theirs back on.
This is so crazy.
Because if they don't put theirs back on by the morning, then there's trouble.
Oh, okay. Like a vampire.
Something's not good. Yeah, exactly. Another version is at night that they just sit, there's not even skin stealing at all, that the boo hag just sits on your back all night and rides you like a horse, potentially until you die.
What?
So now this is just for their fun.
What?
They're just doing it. They just like it. And so, because of this, there's an expression that is sometimes used in South Carolina, apparently, at least I read it, that said, don't let the hag ride you. Meaning, like, don't let yourself get too tired. Like,
don't talk to my wife like that.
Yeah, how dare you? And it probably comes from the boo hag legend.
Okay.
So, Will, how can we prevent letting the hag ride us?
Yeah.
Is there anything that we can do? Yes, and luckily the Charleston Property Management website has some tips for us.
Oh, Charleston.
My favorite kind of thing.
I love their chew.
As do I, and I love their fair city, having been twice. I wonder if the boo hag visited me any of those nights. I'll have to
really,
pay
Kristen?
attention next time.
You gotta lock your skin.
So this is from the Charleston Property Management website. I love this kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
So, quote, according to Gullah culture and research, evil spirits are repelled by the color indigo blue. Painting your window frames will make sure they don't get in that way. Another repellent is salt, as a salted boo hag cannot return to its original skin. But what is the easiest way to rid yourself of boo hags? Theory has it that placing a straw broom, hairbrush, or colander close by will protect you. The boo hag is a curious and obsessive creature that will not be able to pass by without counting each straw, hair, or hole.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
The cat.
Don't count my
Honestly,
holes.
maybe you don't even need a colander or anything. They can just pop on by, get to counting.
Play count the holes and get out of there.
Exactly. The counting will take them so long that by the time they're finished, it'll be too close to morning, and they will need to return to their own skin instead of inhabiting yours for the night.
Little flashback. The obsessive counting thing is also part of vampire lore. That is why the Count on Sesame Street is obsessed with numbers.
Yeah. It's awesome. So there you go. That's what boo hags are and how to prevent them from riding you.
Some strange shit.
I know.
I feel like that's like a couple of monsters. You know what I mean? Like, why is that all under one thing? That seems very weird.
They ride you like a horse, or they'll take your skin. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna finish up with a real dooz. A real doozaroo.
Okay.
Because now, Kristen, I have no option but to tell you about the Bunnyman.
Oh boy.
All right. Have you heard of this?
No.
This is another one of those things where, like, I can't tell if people know this or not. You know what I mean?
No.
I feel like I've heard the name Bunnyman.
I know of Echo and the Bunnymen, but
Is that a band? Is that?
yeah.
Okay. So here's the legend from Inside Nova, which I think is Northern Virginia.
Okay.
At the stroke of midnight on Halloween, a killer in a white rabbit suit awaits. Lore has it, if you speak his name 3 times, he'll appear. Bunnyman, Bunnyman, Bunnyman. We seem safe.
Yikes.
But don't expect to survive. He'll slash your throat and leave your body dangling from the bridge.
Ooh.
This is really more about a bridge than a bunny, for the record.
Well,
Another rendition of the story goes, he is the spirit of an escaped mental patient haunting the railroad bridge. He escaped hell bent on avenging the murder of his wife and child.
Wow.
who were slain nearby. Living in the woods near the bridge, he killed and ate rabbits, wearing their skins and leaving their mutilated bodies hanging in the trees.
Oh, man. So does he even dress like a bunny?
Depending on which story you listen to, yes.
But in this one, and the one, is it just he's the bunny man because he's chowing down?
In this rendition, I guess it's just because he keeps eating bunnies. On Halloween night, taunted by some town children, he killed and mutilated them too, hanging their corpses from trees around the bridge. In another spin on the same theme, he's the ghost of an escapee of a long-closed nearby asylum. Dressed in a rabbit suit, he throws axes.
This is another one that's like a million different things.
1,000 things, which is what urban legends sort of are, right? Like if people keep changing it, then it is all these stories in one.
Right, maybe in Reading right now, there are little kids talking about a blue car.
Maybe, honestly, maybe.
With a Tamagotchi hanging from the...
Yeah, that's more timely. I don't even know. I have no idea what would be timely.
Neopets? I don't know what that is.
Even Zoe is just into The Little Mermaid. You know what I mean? Like, what's like the new kid thing?
I just saw today that John Legend is the new ambassador for Neopets because the podcast Who Weekly posted it. They post any like weird like celebrity, what the hell is that sort of thing. I don't know if Neopet, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something you can hang from a what's it called? Rear view mirror? I don't know if it could be an app.
Have you heard of Skibbity Toilet?
No.
Okay. Look up Skibbity Toilet.
Okay.
That's what the kids are into right now.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What is it? Tell me.
It's a head popping out of a toilet.
That's all it is?
I'm not kidding. I saw it on Twitter. I don't know.
It's probably amazing in its elegance.
It's one of those tongue-in-cheek.
It's simple.
It's like a meme thing the kids are into. All right. Anyway, he throws axes at your car if you're on Lover's Lane. So here are the encounters, all right? And supposedly these first two are real, supposedly.
Yeah.
The first incident was reported the evening of October 19th, 1970 by U.S. Air Force Academy cadet Robert Bennett and his fiancée. Around midnight, when returning from a football game, they reportedly parked their car in a field on Guinea Road to, quote, visit an uncle who lived across the street from where the car was parked.
This is a Lover's Lane, you say?
Yeah, pretty sure. As they sat in the front seat with the motor running,
I bet their motors were running.
Their motors running.
That kitty was purring.
The car was not on, but the motors were running. They noticed something moving outside the rear window. Moments later, the front passenger window was smashed.
Oh my God.
And there was a white-clad figure standing near the broken window. Bennett turned the car around while the man screamed at them about trespassing, saying, "You're on private property, and I have your tag number." As they drove down the road, the couple discovered a hatchet on the floor of the car.
Ooh.
So did this man smash their window and throw the hatchet, you know?
Yeah.
So Bennett would describe to the police, a man wearing, quote, a white suit with long bunny ears. His fiancée disagreed. She said he was not wearing a bunny suit. He was wearing a capote.
I don't know what that is.
A capote is that tall white hood that Klansmen wear.
Oh.
The Ku Klux Klan.
Okay.
Which, by the way, because I looked into it, a capote is not just a Klan hood. It's got roots in Catholicism.
Yeah, I
It's like a thing that, like...
I think it's got roots in like a whole bunch of different things.
Maybe, yeah. But like a priest might wear that, and the Klan took it and made it part of their thing.
Yeah.
The guy was wearing one of those.
Oh.
And so maybe the Academy guy thought it was
Not
a
loving
bunny
it.
hood. Not loving it. Second encounter, 10 days later. 10 days
Was that the first
later.
encounter?
That was the first encounter.
Okay.
So 10 days later, a security guard named Paul Phillips is patrolling a construction site where homes are being built. He sees a man standing on the porch of one of the unfinished houses. Quote, Phillips said the man was wearing a gray, black, and white bunny suit and was about 20 years old.
Maybe it got gray and black, like over the past 10 days.
Yeah, maybe. Quote, the man began chopping at a porch post with a long-handled axe, saying, "You're trespassing. If you come any closer, I'll chop off your head."
Oh my God.
Even if you're the security guard, you just go like, okay, all right.
I know I'm supposed to be like the tough security guard, but like I can't go up against a hatchet.
Have a good night.
Yeah, I'm out.
Enjoy your time, Bunnyman.
Yikes.
This kicks off a type of Bunnyman fever in the area. We're talking about, and I had this like as a sidebar note. This is all 1970, which is firmly in an era or like post-era of like Zodiac.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy, like all the serial killer madness around the
totally.
60s and 70s. Where like now you've got this Bunnyman who's menacing and is using, even if he didn't hurt these people. He smashed the window and left a hatchet in the car. Now he's chopping a post.
Yeah.
They're obviously acts that scream violence.
This guy's really got access to a lot of hatchets.
I guess.
Or he's got like a big hatchet budget.
I guess so. So a lot of newspapers start reporting about the Bunnyman a whole lot. One story is like the Bunnyman ate a man's runaway cat. Like it's like all over the place.
Yeah.
And this is where it's like, were those first two stories that I told you about, the lover's lane and the security guard, are those like verified, definitely happened? And then the rest of it just becomes urban
like the
legend.
Fever.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But in 1973, I love this. A University of Maryland student, Patricia Johnson, submits a research paper chronicling over 50 variations of the Bunnyman appearances, attacks. Even at that point, people were saying Bunnyman murders.
Yeah.
But so like she starts deconstructing this thing 3 years later and basically calling out like, this is an urban legend.
Yeah.
Which I love. The story had taken on a complete life of its own and was just mutating over time. And once the internet comes around, it mutates again. So Wikipedia specifically points to a website. This was posted in 1999 on a website called castleofspirits.com, which no longer exists. But
it's a sweet name.
Castle of Spirits, I know. But I was able to find it on the Wayback Machine,
where
like people archive websites that aren't actually online anymore. And so it was long. I got just the good bits.
Great.
This is the story
Thank you.
as it was told in 1999, which reinvigorated the Bunnyman legend, and people kept telling different variations. So, again, this is verbatim from Castle of Spirits, a website from 1999.
Yeah.
The tale of the Bunnyman goes back many years. What did I just tell you, the 70s?
Yeah.
Originally, it didn't start until 1931.
Oh.
After many murders had already been committed. Supposedly in 1904, inmates from an asylum were lost in a bus crash. All but 2 were rounded up. During the search for both men, the police randomly found dead rabbits, half-eaten and dismembered every now and then along their search.
Is this just totally made up?
Gotta be.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta be. Eventually, one of the 2 missing men is found dead. So, like, asylum bus crashes, 2 men get away, 1 is later found dead. He's holding a handmade hammer in his hand. It's like a rock tied to a branch.
Oh, God.
All right? Only 1 guy remains unaccounted for. And still, the police are occasionally finding these bodies of rabbits. So it's like...
What the hell's going on?
This guy's not, like... He wasn't just, like, trying to live in the woods and had to survive by eating the rabbits that happened to be there.
Right.
All of a sudden, it feels like he's deliberately, I'll only eat live rabbits.
He's in pursuit of rabbits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Halloween 1905. A bunch of kids are playing at the Clifton Bridge. By midnight, only 3 kids are still playing. Quote, right at midnight, supposedly a bright light back from within the bridge, where the kids were. And less than it's written like nonsense.
Yeah.
And less than a couple seconds later, they were all dead.
Wow, that's swift.
Flash of light in the bridge, click, all kids dead. Throats slashed with that same type of tool that was found by the other escapee. Not only were the throats slashed, but all up and down their chests were long slashes.
Bunny prints?
Gutting them. Oh, bunny prints would be good. To top it off, the Bunnyman hung both of the guys, there were 3, both of the guys from one end of the bridge with a rope around their neck.
Calling the kids the guys.
The guys hanging from the overpass with their legs dangling in front of the pass of cars. It happened again in 1906, but 1 kid survived and witnessed the killing. Adrian Hatala. Quote, horrified, she ran home. She didn't tell of everything she saw, just spattered words here and there that some of the folks put together to come up with her story. No one understood it or even believed her. They charged her with the murderer and locked her up in the asylum of Lorton.
Oh.
But then it happened again in 1913, Kristen, so they dropped Adrian Hatala's sentence. She was going to be let free from those murders that they think she did, but it was really the Bunnyman.
Then who is Bunny?
Quote, but it was too late. The insanity had finally conquered her.
This is awesome. It might be like a 15-year-old.
It might be.
Yeah.
I guess, now this is me, I guess they decided, just from reading the story and trying to parse this out, I guess they decided that Adrienne Hatala, there was no reason to actually release her because they say that she was kept in the asylum for 40 more years until she died of shock. Again, quote,
what is this?
No one knows what exactly she died in shock from. But supposedly she had died in her dreams, dreaming of that one dreaded night. Perhaps the Bunnyman had finally gotten her.
Perhaps.
No one knows what happened, but perhaps it was exactly this. Yeah. Right? 1943 rolls around and 6 teenagers go out on a Halloween night. A couple hours... Oh, this is a quote. Okay. 1943 rolls around and 6 teenagers go strolling out on Halloween night. A couple hours later, all of them are dead. And then we just leap ahead.
Dunzo.
1976, it happens again.
It happens so fast on that bridge, within seconds.
Just snap. So here's the big one.
Yeah.
And I wrote here, I wanted to stop reading this, but this part's worth it.
The Bunnyman was forcing you to hop on.
I had no choice. In 1987, Janet Charletier was enjoying her night with her 4 friends. Now, believe it or not, Kristen, they're going to end up at the Bunny Bridge.
Oh, boy.
Everything's very, very confusing. All of a sudden, we're going to find out that, like, if you're in the bridge, you're going to die and be hung from the bridge. If you're even, like, an inch outside the bridge, you're safe.
We gotta knock this bridge down.
Just take the bridge down.
It's time to end the Bunny Bridge.
When are people going to learn? This is not a good bridge.
Nah.
So, her body is halfway out of the bridge.
Okay.
She's in half danger, I guess, according to this website. She sees, quote, she sees her skin start tearing. She finally manages to exit the bridge. Completely horrified, she hits a hanging body and knocks herself out. When she awakes, she finds out her hair has turned white and she has been bleeding. She has been seen... Oh.
Like Rogue. This is a very X-Men-y episode.
Well, here's the sad coda to the story.
Oh.
She has been seen sitting on a swinging bench on her balcony every morning, just staring in the direction towards the bridge a couple miles away. To this day, you can still find her on that bench every morning.
Oh, boy.
And then they wrote, here's the short myth. Halloween night comes around, nothing happens till midnight. Right before midnight, supposedly a bunny or 2 enters the bridge. At no point did they ever say this.
Yeah.
Right before midnight, his soul, a dim light...
The bunnies?
I guess... walks the tracks above the bridge. When midnight hits, his soul stops right above the bridge, dead center, and disappears, only to reappear inside the bridge. From then on, it's his soul which lights up the whole area so brightly you can't even see him. That's when he instantly kills you by slitting your throat and slashing your chest, only to hang you at the edge of the bridge. You can even see the rub marks that have worn away at the rock where the bodies were swinging. Okay. Whoever is inside the bridge ends up dead.
Wait, were there 2 real bunnies in this story?
Originally, there may have been a bunny man.
Right. No, but in this short story, they say 2 bunnies went into the bridge?
He spends all this time being like, and then 3 years later, it happened to 3 of them, and then but 2 years before that, it happened to 6 of them. And then the end goes, now I'll give it to you again real fast. Too long, didn't read. 2 bunnies walk into the bridge. You're like, I don't know. You never said that. You never told me that.
What?
At no point did you ever say that there were bunnies there, actually. It was all about the bridge.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to read this. And remember, everything except the actual myth has been in Clifton's records since the date it happened. The old Clifton Library still stands, containing those records on microfiche. However you spell it. They literally just wrote the word microfiche. And then in parentheses,
they got their point across,
however you spell it.
I know what they meant, so.
I have looked it up myself, and it's still a mystery. I'm thinking of taking this to Unsolved Mysteries.
Ooh, when was this written?
1999.
Okay.
And then I wrote at the bottom, according to Wikipedia, there's no such thing as the old Clifton Library.
Oh, because I was going to say, you know where we have to go.
It doesn't even exist.
Damn.
It's all horse shit.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. Evidently, the Bunnyman is episode 2 of lore.
Oh, Oh,
Which
okay.
makes me wonder if Aaron Mahnke also went down the list of urban legends of
wonder.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
There's also a shitty movie called Bunnyman. that
There's a shitty movie.
evidently everybody hated.
There's a movie called Black Volga, the first thing we talked about.
Yeah.
And the IMDb is just like empty. It basically said
nobody-
like the director name or something, and there was literally like nothing else on there.
It exists, but no one will ever know about it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, there you go, everybody.
We did it.
We finished the bees.
Wow, this is huge. So
This is tremendous.
You know what this means? Here come the C's.
Here come the C's. Kristen,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. That is what will come after B. We are 13th of the way through the urban legends.
Yeah, you're right.
We did the A's, we did the B's.
Beautiful.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, everybody.
There you go. And here's a little spoiler for next week. We are going to be talking about the Blair Witch Project.
That's not true.
It's not? That's not next week?
That's not true.
Oh,
That's in 2 weeks. So you blew it.
I blew it. Never mind. Well, in 2 weeks, we'll talk about the Blair Witch Project. So
That's true.
So get to watching.
Get to watching.
Yeah, just in case you feel like you can still listen to the episode without watching, but it might be fun.
Yes. Watch the original Blair Witch, Curse of the Blair Witch. There's a Blair Witch dossier that's dynamite, an original comic book.
Yep.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see you next week regardless.
Yep. Whoops.
So follow at GTTUpod on all social media. Hit up that Patreon, patreon.com/GTTUpod. Did I mention Unsolved Mysteries at the end of Bunnyman? Oh, I think I smell Unsolved Mysteries on the wind.
Oh, a little Easter egg for this week's Netherworld Dispatch upcoming.
Perhaps. You can also follow us online.
Yep, I'm at Chillin' Kristen.
I'm at The Myth Traveler. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with more spooky stuff.
You know it.
Until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the Netherworld, go we. And you know what? Let's go to that Clifton Library, brother.
It doesn't exist. Let's go.
Like I just forgot.
Hacha!
Yeah.